Welcome once again, wonderful people. This is me again with a second tutorial on files and streams. So this is where we left off previously. So I think we should just continue with this. But what we are going to do this time, it's something different. So we will be looking at the directories now. So we are going to have a new file. So I'm going to create a class and I'm going to call this the directory information. We just want to find out some information on the directory. So I'll call this directory information, and this will be a class that we have, and inside of this class we are going to just create a main. So let me just say public static void. Let me see if this main will work. A string of arguments. So this might create a problem because we have more than one entry point, but we will see. So we can just end the class here. So what we are going to do here, we will be looking at the directory information. So the first thing that I will do, I'll have a string, which I will say it is the directory name. Okay, and then secondly I'll have a string of array, and I will just call this the list of files. I just want to find the list of files that are inside of the directory, so it will be the list of files. Okay, that's fine. And then the first thing that I want to do, let me go to this one just to copy something very quickly, this one. So I'm going to copy this and I am going to paste it just there. And one most important thing that I will also copy from this is the dot animation. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste that right here. Very good. So let us continue with this. So I'll have a write statement, and in this write statement I'll just say enter a folder name in your C# current directory. I'm being super specific here. He will enter in a folder and I will say the directory name is equals to a read line, because there is no conversion that is needed there. The directory name is a string. And then once that is done, I will run a check. Now I will say if the directory C# reserved keyword, if the directory dot exist. Now let me just read something for you very quickly so that you understand. The directory class provides you with information about the directories or the folders. Very important. And then with these directories we have the following methods. We can have create directory. If it doesn't exist, we can delete. We can check if it exists. We can get the creation time. We can get the directories, how many directories are there. We can get the files, get last access time, get last write time, and we can move. the directories. So there are some similarities that we can see that happens on both files and the directories. For example, like the exist method. So one thing that I'm going to say, I'm just going to say if the directory dot exist, and which directory, the directory name that the user will enter this. So the exist accepts one argument, and this is a C# reserved keyword. Please be very careful there. So once I have run this test, the first thing I will do, I will invoke the dot animation. This is the first thing that I will do, and then I'll have a write line statement. And then in this write line, the first thing I will say the directory exists. So I will say directory, let me use the $sign. I will say directory, and then I will have the directory name, and I will just say exist. Very good. And then once I have told the individual that the directory exists, and then I will just say the directory exists and contains the following. Let me just say exists and contains the following, and then I'll just do this, and then it will go to the next line of code. And then one thing I will do, I will say the list of files. I am storing these directories inside of this array of strings. So the list of files, I will say that this is equals to the directory. This is equals to the directory dot, and then we have this get what. Now we have this get files method, and the get files method accepts one argument, which is what? Now the directory name. The directory name, very, very important, right? Once that is done, so directory.get files, and then you specify the directory name where these files must be fetched from. And then from there, I can use a for each, or I can use a for statement. Let me use a for loop. So what I will say for int x equals 0, x should be less than the list of files dot length. And then what I will do, I will increment that by 1, right? And then when I'm inside there, I'll just have a write line statement, and in this write line, let me just have some space. I'll just say 0, and then what I will do is to just go to the list of files at a specific index. This is exactly what I will do. So it will print those directories one after the other, right? And then when I exit the if statement, I will have the else. Now the first thing that I want to do in the else statement is to invoke the dot animation, right? And then I want to have a write line statement. I want to have a write line statement, and I just want to say the directory. I want to say directory called directory name does not exist. This is the first thing that I want to say. And then secondly, I will say directory dot create directory, and I will call this directory fun zone. This will be the folder that it will create for me. If it does not exist, okay, let me go here and copy something. Let's go to program, and I want to copy this. I just wanna copy all this. Let me just copy this, and let me come here, enter and paste. But there are some few things that I'm going to delete, like this one. So what I will do, I will say directory does not exist, and then I will say okay, and I will also do this, and then I will say before I invoke this line, let me cut that line and just paste it here. So I will say please enter the file name to create it, and then I will say directory name equals to the directory.create. Okay, no, let me just say directory.create. Okay, let me come here and let me just say directory name is equals to read line. Very important. So when I am here, I will just come here and say directory name. Is it a string? Yes, it is a string. Okay, there seems to be a problem somewhere around here. Let me do this. Let me end animation. Right, okay, that it's fine. Everything seems to be working well. So on the else, I will invoke the dot animation, and then it will say directory called does not exist, and then it will say please enter the file name to create it. File name equals that, and then the directory dot create directory, and then it will have that directory name. So I know that I'm inside here in the directory here. I don't have a folder or anything in here, so let's just go and run this and check if things will happen the way in which we have predicted. Let us just try to check that. So it is still running. We will just wait for it to complete. No. So what is happening? There's an error somewhere, and it's in line 13. Oh, there's more than one entry point, so I'll have to come here and let me just do this. I will just come here and just comment this main. I will just comment that main. Let's check something. Okay. let me, okay, we might just as well just get rid of this me. Let me just come here, get rid of this and get rid of that, and sorry, you know what, we might as well just get rid of the whole thing. Let's just delete the whole thing because now we have more than one entry point. So let's just delete the entire thing so that we can just run our code with peace. So let's just run our code and check if things will happen the way in which we want. Enter a folder name in your C# current directory. So let me just say the folder name is some, and then the dot animation will run, and we will find out that the directory called Samuel does not exist. Please enter the file name to create it, and I will just say it should be Samuel. And we have an unhandled exception at line 37. So at line 37 we have an exception, and which line is that? It is this one, you see. So we have a problem there. So what we can do, we can come here and we can have a string, and we can just say somewhere. So let's run this and check if things will happen the way in which we want. So I will say Samuel, and I know I don't have a directory of that name, so it does not exist, and I will just say please enter the file name to create it, and I will just enter Samuel, and there's an exception. Why? Because I have to get rid of this. I have to get rid of this. I have to get rid of that. We just need to get rid of that, and then it will create a directory for us. So this is interactive learning. We make mistakes and then we see why things are the way in which they are, so that we can understand what is happening. So we can just run this and just say Samuel, and let the dot animation just go, and we have an exception. We have an exception once again. So why are things that way? So the directory called Samuel does not exist, and then we set directory.create directory, and we called that directory Samuel, right? And then we can come in here and we can see that the file was not created because there is an exception that is happening. Okay, that is fine. So inside of the if statement, it never entered, it went on this one, told us that the file does not exist, and then we set directory.create a directory, and then it creates a directory for us, and we tried to give this directory a name, and it looks like there's a problem with that. Things cannot be the way in which we want them to be, but it looks like nothing is wrong in here. And let's check once again in which line is there a problem. Let's check in which line. Right, and we have a problem at line 35. So directory dot create directory, which we call Samuel. So we have a problem there. We have a very serious problem. For what reason? Let's check. So this is how you create a directory. It is a method. You just say directory dot create a directory, and then if we come here and we just type in Samuel, you see there's a problem. It will not accept that the name Samuel does not exist in the current context. So you have to enter in a string there. So there's something that we should have done there. This is called Samuel. Okay, this is the name of the folder that we want to create. But when we try to run this, we are facing problems. So we are facing some problems. So let's go once again. And we have a problem, right? And then directory information.cs line 35. Okay, let me just zoom in. Right, it says cannot create file and so on .NET 6.0 because a file with the same name already exists. You see, a file with the same name already exists, so it cannot do that. Okay, let me just go back. Let me go back in, and we don't have, or we have a file name that is the same. So one thing that we need to do here, let's just call this folder Fanzo, and let's run this. So this is very, very important. This trial and error that we are trying to do here, it's just for us to understand what is happening. So let me just say Theo, and I know that I don't have a directory of that name, so it will just say does not exist. And then now it has created that folder for us. It was unable to create that folder for us because the name of a text that matches the folder that you wanted to create had already been existing. So that was the only problem that we were facing. So we can come here and we have this folder which is called Fanzo. Very, very important now. Now I want us to take all this, in fact just a few, and paste it inside here, right? And then secondly, I want to come here and create a folder that I will call Seges, and inside of this folder that is called Seges, what I want to do, I want to take this, I want to cut this and paste it inside here. This is what I want to do. Now that I have a folder, let me just run this. Right, so I'm going to enter Fanzo, and then the directory Fanzo exists and contains the following. It has maths, whatever, Fanzo, this and all that. This is all the things that I find inside there, right? So these are what now? Remember what I said in the if statement. In the if statement, I said if the directory exists of that specified name, and then it will say the directory exists, and then it should do what now? The list of files equals the directory dot get files, and then it got me all the files that are inside of that folder, that directory, which we call Fanzo. Very, very important. And I was just copying things there inside for you, just to show you the files that are contained inside there. And I want to draw your attention to something also. Inside of Fanzo, so remember, here we are inside of Fanzo. Look what it does. The directory Fanzo exists and contains the following. Fanzo, it has maths and November, there it is, grade 8, very good. We have this file there, it is very good. We have the national senior certificate, very good. We have this .exe file, and we have this text file, but it never specified this folder. Yet that folder is inside. Why? Because when I'm here, I just said get files. I never said it should get me the directories that are inside of that file. And this is something very important that we will be looking at in the next tutorials. We will look at the files and the streams. So I hope that you have understood and you saw how important it is to have these trials and errors, so that we understand how coding should be. So thanks a lot, guys, for watching. Please do like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next tutorial.